Doing a little cosmetic stuff on the Ferrari Testarossa, which is, this is an '89 Pontiac Firebird GTA Trans Am. I didn't think it was a Trans Am at first because generally the Trans Am has T-tops. I initially believed it was a Formula, but by looking up the VIN number, it says that it's a GTA Trans Am. So this car was custom ordered without T-tops, with gray leather interior, has the, I think it's called the WS6 suspension system. Correct me if I'm wrong, I think that's what it's called. But it has the performance suspension system, all around disc brakes. It has the 5.7 liter tune port fuel injected 350 V8. So it's a hot rod, it drives great. And it was rebodied into this Ferrari Testarossa replica by my friend Paul Wilkins at his company called Spectre Testarossa. And they started in Canada and then moved to Fort Worth, Texas, which is when I ran into him. This is one of their really early models. In his later models, he would actually cut out this sail panel here and put in the side glass that is seen on a real Ferrari Testarossa. But I guess he hadn't done that yet on this model and hadn't quite figured that out. And I've seen other replicas where they just cut into the panel and put like a piece of plexiglass, or they just glue it on there. And this one was just left off. And when I got it from the third owner that I got it from here in Las Vegas, he had used some 3M tape to just stick on some kind of louvers or something on here. It just didn't look right. But he had the right idea. Now, I have agonized over this, and I was going to buy actual Ferrari side glass, which you can get for a couple $100 actually, believe it or not. And then I was going to cut into this, use Bondo and Dynaglass to shape it in and put the actual glass in, and we would have to modify the interior. But God, it was going to be such a lot of time and effort. We'd have to repaint probably this area. And so the cheapest, most simplest solution that I came up with is this. I am just going to paint a window in here. I know that sounds pretty ghetto, but look, it's not a real Ferrari Testarossa. There's a lot of things you could pick apart on this thing. I mean, it's missing about 10 inches of clearance here on this back thing, and this is supposed to be there, and you could sit here and pick this thing apart. And I think that by just making some black trim that goes here in the shape of the window, I don't think would be looked upon too poorly. It's just an accent piece. If I had a racing stripe or a little black painted area or something, I think it's just going to add to this window, especially with the window tint. It's just going to add to the volume of the window and add that Ferrari Testarossa style shape to it, while getting rid of some of this huge real estate of this, what's known as the sail panel here. And we'll just tape it off. We'll paint all the way into the jamb, and then all the way to where the window would be into the design and the shape of the Ferrari Testarossa rear glass. And I think it's going to look fine. I mean, when you walk up to it, you'll see that it's just a painted area, and it's just a painted area. So I think that's the best solution. It's also the cheapest, and it's not that I'm trying to save money on the deal, but cutting into this roof line structurally is going to be an issue. You would really have to shore this up, and the way they did that on the Ferrari Testarossa is unlike the Trans Am. The Ferrari Testarossa actually has an actual doorpost frame that goes all the way around the window, which gives them the ability to actually put in some support there and frame that in. And we don't have that luxury here because this is a frameless door, which was so big in the 80s, which is just this piece of glass. All the structure is right here, and I don't want to create, other Trans Am owners have told me that when they have the 350 versions, it's more power than this unibody frame can handle, and you'll start to get cracking here anyway. You'll find a lot of Firebirds and Trans Ams, especially the Trans Ams that have the T-tops. You'll see cracking here because the roof line flexes when you really get down on it. So we're going to paint it. Here we go. Now, I have already painted this side, and I actually painted it twice. The first time I painted it, I used lacquer because I thought it would be shinier than regular gloss black, and traditionally it would be. But then a gust of wind came along and blew this plastic all over it, and it stuck to it, and I had to peel it off, and it ruined the paint. So I used almost a whole can of Goof Off, to get all the lacquer off, get it back to white. And then I decided to go a step further and I sanded it. So I sanded it, then I wiped it smooth, and I think I have it where I want it. So hopefully I don't F this up, because I've got this plastic on here, and let me make sure this is, it's still a little tacky. I'm gonna let this continue to dry before I pull this off, and we'll go work on the other side. I need to put on some gloves. It sucks I can't work with the fan on in here because it'll blow all this stuff around, so it's pretty stuffy in here. I've been just kind of eyeballing this, you know, based on the pictures of the real Testarossa that I have. And kind of using extra tape. I'm just kind of following the window line. You know, you can see the arc of that and where it goes naturally. See, you can see the natural flow of the window line. And we can do the same at the bottom, following the door line. You know, you can see where the door begins and ends. And then where this hatch goes. And it sort of naturally tells you where the line is. Now, I've looked at a bunch of pictures, and there is a slight arc back coming straight back off of this. When I go back and look at this, the way I did this, you know, the space, well, it's hard to tell because this thing is here. But I followed right along the top edge of this. And so where this line is, right? So I said, okay, let's say that line here, if we were to follow the natural arc of this hatch, I'm just kind of visually eyeballing it. And if you look, let me look at through the camera lens here. Yeah, you know, from that angle, let me center this a bit so you can see it from the exact side profile there. Sorry for the motion of the camera there, but you can kind of see there's that slight arc back, all right? And so what I want to do is we're going to paint this edge as well. We're going to go ahead and leave that black. So what I'm doing is, even on the jamb here, so across this jamb, crank up the jamb, crank it up. Pump up the jamb. I'm saying crank. Wasn't really a big fan. Okay, and then what I'm going to do, just going to put a little extra protection. And then what I'm doing, what I did over there is I just wanted to protect this rubber a bit. Because I don't want to paint this rubber. The seal. I know you can't see what I'm doing here, so. And on the glass, I don't want to paint my glass, so what I'm going to do is carefully, that was way too much. just don't want to get any paint on the glass because I just tinted this glass and I don't want to be scraping any paint off of my new tint, you know what I'm saying? And this will all be properly taped off. Every time I play with tape, I always think of Pee Wee Herman. Then I'm going to add a little, there was some like rub marks here from where I had to use the rubber wheel to remove the adhesive, and it did burn into the paint a bit. So it needed this anyway. This will give the paint a little bit more to adhere to. Those micro scratches will be, this is only 150 sponge, you know. So those areas will be filled in by the paint. Because there's some real deep scratches here from the tool that burred into them. But I knew I was going to do something here, so I was like, you know what, if I script this little area, it'll be okay. A lot of times what you could do, a little trick is, you know, you could just kind of simulate a finer grain of sandpaper by just going over it lightly. You want to avoid swirls. That's probably pretty good. Okay. Then we'll just wipe that down with a cloth. Oh, look, a cloth. So I'm still seeing that dig in right there. And it's probably just going to be stuck because I probably can't get in there deep enough to really do anything about it, unfortunately. Okay. Next trick is bagging the car. Just give me a second. This is going to make a lot of noise, so I'm going to turn the camera off. Okie dokie. All right. We're just trying to prevent some overspray, obviously. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to, you know, lightly cut into this. And that might have scored it enough to move. Let's see. This is a really fine material. Because I'm trying to go into that tape. And okay, that's all we really needed to do. because all I gotta do is get this little piece of tape here. Like that. See how that works? Just gonna mask this little area by going over the other tape that's already there to hold this down. Well, this is kind of messing up because this is messing up my tape line because shit. There we go. I'm gonna have to do that again. The thing is, you can be as messy as you want to be on this because it doesn't matter, you know. All that matters is that your tape line here is clear. And there, we're ready to paint. Ooh, I see like one little corner peeking out of there. Didn't get taped. Don't forget, you can always go back over this with some of that goof off and get your whoopsies out of there. Okay. Simple as this. I'm gonna paint. This is Rust-Oleum's 2X Cover, Ultra Cover Gloss. I use this particular brand of paint for like almost everything I do because it's just good stuff, you know. I mean, it covers well. The nozzle on these is just good quality kit. I mean, that's pretty flat. The trick is standing back a little bit and get a nice lay. Get a lot of overspray that way, especially when it's dry out here. But you get a nice even cover without any stripes, if you know what I'm trying to say. That's it. You're gonna let that dry. And I see like there is a little bit of trash and dust in there. If I want to go over it with a super fine, like a 2000 grit later, I probably could. So I want it to be nice and thick so I can polish it later. And by the way, something else I haven't talked about is I'm thinking about making like an aluminum frame, paint it either gloss black or flat black, and make a frame that's going to go kind of around it that will just stick on either with 3M tape or glue or however else we're going to do it. But you know, I could put a little frame around it which would make it look a little bit more authentic, especially if I did it like in a matte black or something. Let's see how it's doing. I want to put a little bit more while it's tacky. Yeah, I can see that dent. I'll go back over there and sand it later. Oh wow, some real serious overspray got on here. Well, that sucks. Yeah, a little bit of bleed here that I don't like. A lot of bleed. I got some serious overspray here that I did not, I don't know how that happened. That's not cool at all. I'm gonna have some serious repair to do. That sucks. So I'm definitely gonna need to do that frame that I was talking about. I can't believe how much bleed over I got on these little areas. How did that happen? I don't understand. I mean, this design came out perfect. This overspray, I don't know how this happened. I don't know how it got up in there. That's not cool. That's not cool at all. Wow. See, this stuff will come right off, especially when it's fresh like that. A lot of this is just straight up overspray dust. You know, this will wipe right off. And I'm gonna do a full paint correction, and eventually we're gonna do like a ceramic coat and all that stuff on this car. So this will all get repaired. But this little area here, this bleed over, this is where I wanted to incorporate doing that little frame I talked about, because the frame will solve that little issue also. And what I could do if I was being lazy is I could just, you know, tape it off and paint it again in that one little spot, you know. But I think I'll probably do this little 1/2-inch frame. I was going to put down like some electrical tape or some other finer tape to get a finer bead. You know, what I should have used, and I can hear you guys saying it already. I should have used actual tape that painters use, you know, for cars and not for like a house. You're right. That's all I had at the minute. I regret it already. I'm a dummy. I never said I was a professional. You guys just assume that I know what I'm doing. I don't. Sort of like the guy that left the bread out and it got moldy and he invented penicillin. That's how I figure things out. I think it looks cool. I mean, doesn't look any more ridiculous than it did. Let's see how much overspray I got on this one. I think this one came out a little better. Let's find out. Oh, that's a nice clean edge here. Oh, there is some overspray down here. Damn. Nice. One thing about out here in Vegas, the tape dries, or the, do that again. I think that looks smooth. One thing about the lack of humidity here and the heat in Vegas is paint dries quick. You don't have to wait long. I'm gonna get this little overspray here while it's still a little fresh. You know, if I left that sitting out in the sun for a bit, I'd probably never get it off, but if I get it while that's why you try to do it while it's fresh. Shoo fly, little bug. Oh yeah, wipes right off. Like I said, we're gonna do a like a full paint correction on this car where we're gonna polish the whole thing down, buff it, ceramic coat it. So I know that this is stripping any finish that's on the car off, but that's probably a good thing because we're gonna have to do that anyway. We're gonna go over this whole car with a wax remover, clay bar, all that kind of stuff, and we're gonna buff this whole thing down, polish it. There's a couple of little spots, paint spots that I need to fix where there's a chip where the paint come off, you know. A couple of paint chips. But the cool thing about a white car is it stays relatively clean even when it's not. Even when it's dirty, it still looks clean. I think this came out really well. Some of you haters in the comments will be running your lips, but I'm pretty happy with the way I mean, just because, like, you know, I come stand back here, you see the car going down the road, it just has the visual look. And I kind of wish I'd have got this down a little further. But again, if I do the little rail I want to do, the little frame, I can have that frame go here, here, and then I can move it down a little bit and have it reach there. And having a physical, like, 1/8 inch by 1/2 inch metal frame there that's painted black will add a little bit more texture and I guess like realism to it. You know, you won't realize, just think it's a really heavily tinted window till you get up really close to it maybe. But that's the appearance that it'll have, you know, like looking at it from 20 feet away. Probably like a lot of you. A lot of you look good from 20 feet away. It's like me. From 20 feet away, I don't look so bad. Don't get up too close. So yeah, I'll let that dry for a day or so. Look at the black I'm getting off of here. And I completely forgot I wanted to do the same thing. You know, on the real Ferrari Testarossa, there's a mesh vent at the top of this. It's about 1 inch wide. It's a perforated mesh. that runs along here that air actually comes up through. They wanted to do everything they could to get all the air out of that engine cover that they could. Now, we use that same mesh material on our DeLorean time machines, actually. And I was thinking about just putting some of that actual mesh on there. But it would be sticking up and rough and not recessed the way I would want it to be. So, probably the best thing to do would be to just paint that the same way we just did. But I'd have to go get 2 more tar. You can't really reuse the piece of plastic because it's so covered in paint dust and whatnot. And it's a mess, and they're only like $1 or $2. But the other thing I could do is I could also just take a piece of that material like I was talking about, that black material, but it would be sticking up. And just, glue it here. I don't know, I'll look into my options. But I'm kind of happy with how that turned out. Looks decent. Look at that. All right, you gotta admit, that looks pretty dope. Like out here, where it's kind of dark, you got the black tint, it just kind of blends right in. If I decide to do the frame around it, I think it'll look a lot more legit. I think I probably will do that. But like from over there, like up close, you can see that this is a painted surface. But from over there where the camera is, looking at this profile of the car, wow, it really does add to the Ferrari-ness. It adds that extra bit that was missing. If only I could make this door shorter, or make that fender a little squeezed in, and then add another 8 inches to this. Boy, we could all use another 8 inches, huh? Anyway, I'd have 10 whole inches. This right here, I think, is a good aesthetic look for the car. And, I know I'll probably get some haters, but, listen, it's a kit car. It's a fake Ferrari. Maybe I'll get a real Ferrari Testarossa. I have a real Rolls-Royce Phantom. I have the DeLorean time machine. We have a lot of really cool cars here if this is your first time coming. So go check out some of my other videos if you want to see some of the other cars that we're doing. I just thought it was a nice little aesthetic, and it's something that Paul could have done from the factory when he was building these cars. But maybe they just didn't think of it, or maybe, I don't know. It seems like it works to me. I think just seeing it going down the road, it's just going to add to the aesthetic. I like it. I'm happy with it. I probably will do the frame and some other modifications to the car. In the meantime, hey, I'm going to have fun with this thing. This is a seriously cool car. And, I know I have a lot of haters on this thing, but it's an 89 GTA with only like 34,000 miles. It's really my favorite car right now. I've been driving the ever-loving shit out of this thing. It's a great drive. It idles down the road at like 1,000 RPMs. And it's effortless. AC is cold. Nice, comfortable Recaro-style seats. High bolstered. Nice seating position. And it's in fantastic condition. You generally don't find these third gens that aren't just roached. And this thing was well taken care of, and that's what matters. All right, until next time, guys, I'm Videobob. Catch you on the show later. More cool stuff coming up. Gotta love the pop-up headlights. Yeah. Mm-hmm.